In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it.
They say history is written by the victors, but the real story is etched in the shadows, whispered in the smoke-filled rooms where deals are made and legends are born. Tonight we delve into what makes a nation and what makes an original. Welcome to Musings of a Cigarette-Smoking Man. I'm Stephen Leake. Tonight we're not chasing conspiracies, not exactly. We're chasing ghosts, specifically the ghost of the American original. What is it about this patch of land, this grand experiment, that breeds such distinct characters? We're talking innovators, rebels, tycoons, and yes, even poets. The kind who don't just follow the script, they rewrite it. Men and women who embody a certain unruliness and audacity, a refusal to be anything less than themselves. Hemingway, a prime example, a flawed titan wrestling with words and wars, crafting a persona as potent as his prose. But Hemingway is just a starting point. I've seen a thing or two in my time, smoked a few too many cigarettes perhaps, and I've come to believe that this concept of the American original, it's more than just a label, it's a lineage, a twisted family tree of ambition, defiance, and the unwavering belief that anything is possible, even perhaps redemption. And where do I fit in? Well, that's a question for another time. Perhaps my own journey is for you to decide. Let's just say I have a unique perspective. So tonight, join me as we dissect the anatomy of the American original. What are the crucial ingredients? Is it freedom? Is it desperation? Or is it something darker? Something buried deep in the American psyche? Stick around, we're just getting started. The archetype. What makes an American original? The American original. It's a loaded term, isn't it? Like freedom or democracy. Everyone throws it around, but few actually define it. But I've seen enough originals to know the general contours of the beast. First, there's the individualism, not the guard variety kind, mind you. This is fierce, bordering on pathological, a refusal to be molded, to be categorized, to be told what's possible. They carve their own path, consequences be damned. Think of a figure like Howard Hughes, building empires and battling demons with equal ferocity. Or consider the poets, the Ginsbergs, the Plaths, pointing out their souls, raw and unfiltered, defying societal expectations of decorum and sanity. The drive for innovation. Then there's the innovation, not just tinkering in a garage, but a fundamental need to create, to disrupt, to leave a mark. It's the Henry Ford mentality, mass production that reshaped society, or Steve Jobs, whose vision of technology changed the world. They weren't just improving the machine, they were rewriting the rules of the game. This can manifest as a kind of relentless ambition, a drive that consumes them, sometimes to their own detriment and demise. It is the belief that anything is possible with enough ingenuity and hard work. Rebellion against convention. Don't forget the rebellious streak. The American original rarely accepts the status quo. They question authority, challenge tradition, and push the boundaries of what's considered acceptable. They are the mavericks, the outsiders, the ones who dare to think differently. Consider a figure like Martin Luther King Jr., challenging the very foundations of segregation, risking his life, or earlier like Thomas Paine, whose writings ignited the American Revolution. These individuals risk everything to challenge the prevailing order. They understand the need to disrupt the establishment in order to bring about a better world. A complex and contradictory nature. Of course, it's never that simple. The American original is often a walking contradiction. They can be brilliant and flawed, visionary and reckless, generous and ruthless. Hemingway, again, is a perfect example. A master of prose, yet a deeply troubled soul. A celebrated writer, yet a men haunted by war and personal demons. This complexity is part of what makes them so compelling and so human. Their contradictions reflect the contradictions of the nation itself, the constant tension between ideals and reality, freedom and responsibility. American exceptionalism. What brings us to American exceptionalism? A dangerous idea, some would say. But there's no denying that something about this country, its vastness, its freedom, its relentless pursuit of progress, has fostered a unique breed of individuals. Is it the frontier spirit, the promise of reinvention, the absence of rigid social hierarchies? Perhaps it's a combination of all of these things. The notion that anyone, regardless of background, can rise to prominence through sheer determination and hard work. This landscape, both literal and metaphorical, seems to breed a certain kind of individual, someone unburdened by the past, obsessed with the future, and willing to gamble everything on their own vision. Rebels and astronauts, tycoons and poets, they all seem to share a common DNA, a defiance of limitations and unshakable belief in their own potential, and their willingness to break the rules to achieve their goals. Whether they succeed or fail, they leave an indelible mark on the American story, and that, my friends, is what makes them truly original. Papa Hemingway, Forging the Myth. Hemingway, the name itself, is a brand, an American brand. But what was he selling? Courage, stoicism, or just damn good prose? He's become synonymous with the American original, but the truth, as always, is far more complicated. The man and the myth. Let's start with the basics. Born in Oak Park, Illinois, hardly the breeding ground for a literary lion, yet he clawed his way out, reinventing himself at every turn. War correspondent, ambulance driver, bullfighter aficionado, deep sea fisherman. He wasn't just writing stories, he was living them, or at least crafting the image of living them. He built a myth around himself, brick by painful brick. His writing style, staccato, economical, a deliberate rejection of Victorian excess. Hills like white elephants, the old man in the sea. He stripped language down to its bare essentials, reflecting a world stripped bare by war and disillusionment. Every word carefully chosen, every sentence a punch to the gut. He wrote about men facing impossible odds with grim determination, and in doing so, he created a new kind of American hero. Hemingway's masculine ideal. And let's not forget the Hemingway Code, the masculine ideal he so meticulously cultivated. Stoicism in the face of adversity, grace under pressure, the ability to endure suffering without complaint. It's an attractive fantasy, particularly for a nation that prides itself on its rugged individualism. Of course, the reality was far messier. Multiple marriages, depression, a descent into alcoholism. The very things he seemed to despise were the demons that haunted him. The question is, did Hemingway succeed in writing a new American myth, or did he become trapped by it? Perhaps it was a bit of both. The image of the hard-drinking, world-weary adventurer became inextricably linked with his work, and that image in turn influenced generations of writers and artists who sought to emulate his style and his persona. But can anyone truly replicate authenticity, or does imitation inevitably become caricature? The legacy of an original. Hemingway's influence extends far beyond literature. He shaped our very idea of what an American writer should be: rugged, adventurous, uncompromising. He embodied a certain spirit of rebellion, a refusal to conform to societal expectations. And this spirit of rebellion that is vital to the American experiment. He lived life on his own terms, consequences be damned. In this, he is, in my view, a shining example of the American original. He's a reminder that even the most celebrated figures are flawed, that the line between man and myth is often blurred, and that the stories we tell about our heroes are just that, stories. But they are stories that can inspire us, challenge us, help us understand ourselves and our nation a little better. Maybe that's what an American original really is. someone who forces us to confront our own contradictions. A word from our sponsors, Skillcraft, the pen of American diligence. Let's take a brief pause for a word from one of our sponsors. In the corridors of power, in the hands of those who shape policy and record history, there's often a simple, reliable tool at work, the Skillcraft U.S. government pen. It's not flashy. It doesn't need to be. What it is dependable. Ink flows smoothly, lines are clean, and the legacy is unquestionable. From drafting legislation to signing treaties, Skillcraft pens have been there, documenting the American story, one stroke at a time. These aren't disposable trinkets, they're built to last. Crafted right here in the United States by America's committed to quality. When you hold a Skillcraft pen, you're holding a piece of American diligence, a symbol of enduring quality and unwavering commitment. So whether you're sketching out a vision, drafting the next great American novel, or simply taking notes, choose the pen that has served generations of leaders and innovators. Skillcraft, the mark of American endeavor. Beyond Papa, a constellation of American mavericks. Hemingway, a formidable figure, no doubt, but America's tapestry of originals is far richer, far more complex than any single thread. It's a constellation, shimmering with disparate lights, each star a testament to that restless American spirit. Titans of industry and innovation. Take the tycoons, the architects of American industry. Henry Ford, for instance. A flawed man, certainly, with his own brand of eccentricity, but he democratized the automobile, put the nation on wheels, and reshaped the very landscape of American life. Then there's Steve Jobs, a visionary, a perfectionist, some might say a tyrant. But he didn't just create gadgets, he crafted experiences, redefined how we interact with technology, and built a cult of innovation. They were both driven by a singular vision, an almost fanatical belief in their own ability to transform the world. Artists and wordsmiths, defining new forms of expression. And what of the artists, the poets, the storytellers who dared to break free from convention? Edgar Allan Poe, with his macabre tales and haunting verse, plumbing the depths of the human psyche. Jack Kerouac hitting the road, chasing a fleeting sense of freedom, and birthing a new literary voice for a generation. Jean-Michel Basquiat, a graffiti artist turned art world sensation, challenging notions of high and low culture with his raw, visceral canvases. These were individuals who didn't just reflect American society, they challenged it, provoked it, and forced it to confront its own anxieties and aspirations. Rebels with a cause. Of course, no discussion of American originals would be complete without acknowledging the rebels, the dissenters, the ones who dared to challenge the status quo. Rosa Parks quietly refusing to give up her seat, sparking a revolution for civil rights. Muhammad Ali refusing to be drafted, sacrificing his career for his beliefs, becoming a symbol of resistance and black pride. These individuals embodied a fierce sense of justice, a willingness to stand up for what they believed in, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. Pop culture icons, captivating the national imagination. Then there are the pop culture icons, the figures who captured the national imagination and became symbols of their time. Elvis Presley, shaking his hips and scandalizing a generation, ushering in a new era of rock and roll. Madonna constantly reinventing herself, pushing the boundaries of sexuality and self-expression, challenging societal norms with every album and every performance. They weren't just entertainers, they were cultural catalysts, shaping the tastes, the values, and the aspirations of a nation. Explorers and daredevils, pushing the boundaries of the possible. Let's not forget the explorers, the adventurers, and the ones who dared to venture into the unknown. Amelia Earhart, disappearing into the vast expanse of the Pacific, forever etched in our minds as a symbol of courage and ambition. Neil Armstrong taking that first small step on the moon, a giant leap for mankind, embodying the American spirit of innovation and exploration. These were individuals who refused to be bound by the limitations of the present, who pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible, and who inspired generations to dream bigger and reach higher. These figures, so different in their backgrounds, their talents, and their pursuits, are all united by a common thread: a refusal to be ordinary, a burning desire to leave their mark on the world, to challenge the status quo, to create something new, something lasting. They are the American originals, the architects of our nation's identity, the shapers of our collective imagination. My own shadow, reflections of an aspiring original. We've talked about Hemingway, the tycoons, the rebels, the pop icons, the American original in all its messy glory. But what about me? Where does a man like me fit into this grand narrative? Or am I just a shadow cast by true originals? The quintessential American? A Russian diplomat once called me the quintessential American. Ironic, isn't it? Coming from a representative of a system so diametrically opposed to the ideals, or at least the rhetoric of this nation. But perhaps he saw something I didn't, or perhaps he was being polite, or blowing smoke up my ass, probably. Still, the comment stuck with me. What does it mean to be quintessentially American? I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina in '86. Public school teachers for parents, a family farm in York, South Carolina. That's where I learned the value of hard work. Played baseball, ace pitcher, they said, all region defensive MVP in 2004. Small town glory. But that wasn't enough. The weight of history, the expectations, it was palpable, but fate, perhaps my own weakness, intervened. Illness forced me to withdraw, a detour, a redirection. Maybe that was the first crack in the facade of a dutiful soldier, the beginning of my own unbecoming. I wound up at Winthrop University, studying creative writing, trying to find my voice, or at least someone else's to borrow. Charleston followed, food and beverage, long nights, harder liquor, the raw material for my first novel, Gethsemane, a dark, gritty portrait of a city obsessed with pleasure, masking a deep-seated rot, recognition from the SPLC for advocating tolerance in my work, an odd badge of honor, perhaps, for a man who prefers to dwell in the shadows. Poetry, music, and fashion. Poetry, always the poetry. Published in the North Carolina Bard's Anthology, Truth, Soft Days, Small Victories in a World of Noise. Music 2, an acoustic demo, Truth is Power. Floating somewhere on Spotify. A double album with Love Kills, with Sovereign Sound Studio, the last refuge of a dying breed of artists. But here's where things get complicated. Monarch Urbanwear Limited, a fashion brand for the based and alt-right. A clothing designer, me, the quintessential American, more like a walking contradiction. Managing Americans for economic independence, a libertarian pack, pushing for individual liberty, free markets, the kind of ideas that supposedly fueled the American originals of old. The sum of my contradictions. Poet, author, songwriter, clothing designer, libertarian strategist. What does it all mean? Am I chasing relevance? Am I trying to build something lasting? Or am I just flailing, desperately searching for a place in this world? A way to leave my mark. Maybe I'm just another casualty of the American dream, a victim of my own ambition. I may be an American original. I may be just a charlatan. I do believe in freedom and justice above all else. I believe it is the duty of the individual to do as they will, as long as they do not infringe upon the rights of others. I manage a fashion brand for those who feel like outcasts. I believe that individual liberty is the most important thing, and that you should be able to say what you want and wear what you want. But perhaps the key to being an American original isn't about success or fame. Maybe it's about the trying, the relentless pursuit of something, anything that feels authentic, the refusal to be silenced, to be categorized, to be anything less than yourself. Maybe that's the lineage I'm striving to join, the twisted family tree of ambition, defiance, and the unwavering belief that anything is possible. Maybe I'm just another fool, tilting at windmills, smoking cigarettes, and chasing ghosts. Only time will tell. Strategic Endeavors, a message from Monarch Holdings International. In the world I navigate, power isn't always about what it seems. Sometimes it's what's behind the curtain, the strategic moves that shape the landscape. That's where Monarch Holdings International comes in. Registered in Nevada, Monarch Holdings International is an innovative holding company, an umbrella for a diverse portfolio of subsidiaries. But don't mistake it for just another corporate entity. Their mission is fostering entrepreneurial spirit and creativity, advancing libertarian principles like individual liberty and free markets through strategic investments and ventures. From consulting, business, market, political, to publishing via Monarch Literary Limited, music production, tech app development, apparel, and strategic investment, Monarch subsidiaries are uniquely positioned to serve niche markets. They champion free expression, support overlooked talent, and promote freedom oriented initiatives. With a commitment to innovation, Monarch Holdings employs cutting edge business intelligence tools, IBM SPSS, IBM Watson AI, and Palantir, for data driven insights. They value integrity, collaboration, and above all, innovation. Monarch Holdings International, unlocking your potential with cutting edge business intelligence, or as they might also say, redefining what it means to be a holding company in today's dynamic environment. Remember the name, you never know when you might need them. The American Crucible, Why America Forges Originals. We return to the heart of the matter. What is it about these United States that makes it such fertile ground for the American original? Why here, of all places, do we find such a concentration of innovators, rebels, and iconoclasts? It's not just about geography. It is it? It's something deeper, something woven into the very fabric of this experiment. The allure of liberty. First, there's the obvious freedom, or at least the promise of freedom. Individual liberty, the cornerstone of the American creed, the freedom to think, to speak, to create, to fail, and to try again. It's a powerful draw, a siren song that has lured dreamers and schemers from every corner of the globe. This connects, of course, to the libertarian ideals I've espoused, the belief that individuals should be free to pursue their own goals, unburdened by excessive government interference, a fertile ground for entrepreneurial spirit, wouldn't you agree? Capitalism and innovation. Let's not shy away from the role of free markets in capitalism. The profit motive, the relentless pursuit of wealth, can be a powerful engine of innovation. It drives competition, encourages risk taking, and rewards those who can create something new, something valuable. Think of the tech giants of Silicon Valley. Driven by ambition, yes, but also the promise of untold riches. Of course, capitalism has its dark side: inequality, exploitation, the relentless pursuit of profit at any cost. But it also creates opportunity, fuels progress, and empowers individuals to shape their own destinies. The enduring frontier spirit. There's also the lingering spirit of the frontier. Even in this modern hyper-connected world, that sense of limitless possibility, of venturing into the unknown, still resonates. It's in our DNA, this urge to explore, to conquer, to build something new from nothing. It's what drove the pioneers westward, what sent astronauts to the moon, and what inspires entrepreneurs to launch startups in their garages. The frontier may be closed, but the frontier spirit lives on, pushing us to constantly challenge the boundaries of what's possible. The melting pot paradox. America, the melting pot, or is it? The ideal is that all cultures blend together, creating something new and harmonious. The reality is often more complex, a mosaic of distinct, powerful individual expressions, sometimes clashing, sometimes coalescing, but always vibrant and dynamic. This tension between unity and diversity, between conformity and individualism, is what gives American culture its unique character. It's a constant negotiation, a push and pull between assimilation and self-expression. This makes it a melting pot, or a collection of powerful, distinct individual expressions. Is it both? What is the proper term to properly define this tension? the tension between conformity and rebellion. And speaking of tension, let's not forget the inherent conflict between conformity and rebellion in American culture. We are a nation that simultaneously celebrates tradition and iconoclasm, that values order and innovation. This creates a dynamic environment where individuals are constantly pushing against the boundaries of what's acceptable, challenging established norms, and forging their own paths. It's a breeding ground for originals, for those who refuse to be confined by convention. The weight of founding principles. Finally, there are the nation's founding principles and its ongoing struggle to live up to them. Ideals of liberty, equality, and justice for all, lofty aspirations that have been often betrayed by prejudice, inequality, and injustice. But it is just this very tension between ideal and reality that fuels so much of the American experiment. The constant striving to create a more perfect union, even when that path is fraught with obstacles and setbacks. The American original is, in some ways, a product of this struggle, a reflection of the nation's ongoing quest to define itself. Carving My Niche, a Libertarian Originals Manifesto. So, where do I stand? Poet, author, businessman, a man straddling the lines between the literary and the libertine. Some would call it a contradiction. I call it the quintessential American experiment, played out in a single flawed individual. The cohesive vision, freedom as the bedrock. You see, there's a thread that binds all of these disparate activities: the writing, the music, Monarch Urban Wear, Americans for Economic Independence, Monarch Holdings International. It's not about chasing trends or accumulating wealth, though those are welcome side effects. It's about freedom, individual liberty, the freedom to create, to express, to challenge, and to build, without the suffocating weight of bureaucracy or the stifling hand of social conformity. My libertarian principles aren't just a political stance, they're the very foundation of my being. Individual liberty, free markets, free expression. These aren't just talking points, they're the air I breathe, the fuel that drives me. They're the reason I champion overlooked voices, the reason I push for economic empowerment, the reason I design clothes for those who feel like outsiders. Monarch Literary Limited, championing free thought. Take Monarch Literary Limited, for example. It's not just another vanity press churning out mediocre prose. It's a mission to champion free thought and innovation, to publish exceptional poetry and literary fiction that dares to challenge the status quo. We're not looking for safe, sanitized narratives. We're seeking unique voices that challenge the norm, that provoke thought, that ignite the imagination. And yes, we're even taking a stand on climate change, but not with empty gestures of virtue signaling. Much of what we're seeing that is being reported as climate change is really the use of fifth generation warfare weather weapons, and I will never shut up about that. Reinterpreting quintessentially American. That Russian diplomat who labeled me the quintessential American, perhaps he wasn't so far off, though I doubt he fully understood the implications. He saw the ambition, the drive, the relentless pursuit of something, but perhaps he missed the underlying philosophy, the unwavering commitment to libertarian ideals. To be quintessentially American, in my view, is to be a champion of freedom, a defender of individual liberty, a force for innovation and progress. The Truth is Power, Love Kills manifesto. That brings me to my ambitions. The Truth is Power, Love Kills double album isn't just a collection of songs, it's a manifesto, a declaration of intent, a fusion of art and ideology, a musical exploration of themes that define my life and my work. It's about challenging power structures, questioning narratives, and embracing the raw, unfiltered truth, even when it's painful. It's about love, too, in all its messy, contradictory forms. Love of freedom, love of creativity, love of humanity, even when humanity seems determined to destroy itself. It's about creating something that will last forever and stand for something greater than just myself. The culmination of a life lived on my own terms, for better or worse. I am carving out my own niche, fashioning my own identity, forging my own path. I don't claim to have all the answers. I don't pretend to be perfect. but I do have a vision, and I'm determined to bring that vision to life. One word, one song, one design, one investment at a time, because that, my friends, is what it means to be a libertarian original. Last musings in the unending story. So we've reached the end of this particular thread, but the tapestry, my friends, that unending American story continues to be woven. We've mused on the multifaceted nature of the American original, from Hemingway's crafted persona to the titans of industry, the rebellious artists, and even, dare I say, myself. We've grappled with the enduring allure and the inherent complexities of American exceptionalism, the promise of freedom, the pull of capitalism, the lingering echoes of the frontier, and the constant tension between conformity and rebellion. But have we truly found any definitive answers? Of course not. That's not the point, is it? The American original isn't a neatly packaged definition. It's a question, a challenge, a constant striving. And the narrative, well, that's perpetually unfolding, shaped by the choices, the triumphs, and the failures of individuals who dare to defy expectations. So, what does the American original mean to you? Who are the figures, past or present, famous or unknown, who embody that spirit in your eyes? I encourage you to reflect on it, to look around you, to see the potential for originality in unexpected places. Maybe it's a neighbor, a colleague, a family member. Maybe it's even yourself. And now, for the necessary housekeeping. If you're curious to delve deeper into my musings, you can find my work at stephenleak.com. There you can explore my writings, music, and perhaps get an even better understanding of this quintessential American the Russian diplomat spoke of. Be sure to check out monarchliterary.com, where we're championing free thought and innovation through exceptional poetry and literary fiction. You can also explore my clothing brand, monarchurbanwear.com, for those who dare to express their individuality. For those interested in the principles that underpin my endeavors, visit aeipac.org to learn about Americans for Economic Independence. Of course, you can always find this podcast, Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you've enjoyed our little sojourn into the heart of American identity, I encourage you to subscribe and leave a review. It helps others find their way to our smoke-filled corner of the internet. Until next time, I have a feeling the next episode will be on the topic of technological control, a brave new world indeed. Perhaps the greatest American original is the one who recognizes that the story is never truly finished, that the struggle for freedom, for innovation, for authenticity, it's a never-ending battle. I'm the cigarette smoking man. Thanks for being with me today.